All right, welcome back to the Sports Corner Selection Sunday podcast coverage. It's Chris Fravel here. I'm with Kyle Harstead.
That's right.
And we just got word as to who the brackets, how the brackets fell out and who got what seed and what's going to happen this year in March Madness. That's the question on everybody's mind. Let's start just with some opening general statements. I got to tell you, I'll start here. I got to tell you, some of these seeds blew me away.
Yeah, there were a lot of surprises. A lot of things we predicted, but definitely a lot of surprises.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that if there's one lesson that we haven't learned yet, I think it's that you should never, ever count your chickens too soon when it comes to college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that happens, but you read a quote a little earlier that we retweeted on our Twitter. By the way, if you'd like to follow us on Twitter, our handle is @sports Corner TWI. That's Sports Corner TWI. You can follow us on Twitter and get all of the latest updates, as far as our stories go and things that we have to say throughout college basketball season. But anyway, what was that quote that you read about the seedings?
I mean, just that ESPN bracketology said, cross out your seeds because it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
They don't matter in this NCAA tournament. It's basically a guide of where to place teams against who.
Yeah.
What happens after that is a free-for-all. You really can't. You can try and predict like we're about to do here, but other than that, you might as well just forget about it.
At the end of the day, yeah, it's too much. This was the perfect year. I'm going to say it right now. This is the perfect year for Warren Buffett to come out and say that he's going to give $1 billion to whoever can do a perfect bracket. Because let's just face it, looking down this bracket, you'd have to be a near genius, and I mean even then it wouldn't be enough to guess these games correctly. There's just too many close games looking down this bracket. And I'm going to let you start with the first region, the South region, where the number one overall seed Florida Gators were given that number one overall seed.
And rightfully so. Florida played very well all season, very strong all season. And I did see some people criticize Florida for, winning a lot of close games down the stretch, maybe games they should have won by more. But to me, that's the strength of a team. A strong team wins close games. They don't crack under pressure. They come out. Just like we saw them beat Kentucky by 1 point today, Kentucky had, 2 possessions while they're down by 1?
Yep.
And Florida stopped them both times. It's stuff like that where in the NCAA tournament, when it comes down to it, in the Elite Eight, in the Final Four, in the championship game, those under pressure situations are going to be key. Next matchup we have here is Colorado and Pittsburgh. This matchup intrigues me. We saw Pittsburgh play very well as of late. They played very well as of early. In the middle of the season, they kind of fell off the map in the ACC. Other teams started to take over. Colorado, I don't know too much about Colorado. I don't know if you know too much about Colorado.
A little bit. Obviously, Colorado had a big year this year. One of their better years, actually. And they always seem to be that team, though. I mean, in the past couple of years, they've gotten that 8, 9, 10 seed. And they're always that team that mixes it up just a little bit. Colorado men's basketball this year, 23 wins, 11 losses. The only thing that stands out to me right now, especially with Pittsburgh having been ranked in the top 25 for, at least a good portion of the season this season, is Buffalo against AP-ranked opponents is 1-4 this season. So not a great showing against those teams. And in their conference, they're 10-8. Now we have to take into consideration that as far as their conference games go, they do play against teams that prepare for them in the Pac-12. And let's not forget who's in the Pac-12. You've got a lot of solid teams, the likes of Arizona. You've got UCLA, Oregon. Oregon's another one, and Oregon actually got a seed we'll be talking about in a little bit here. But this Pac-12 conference is just loaded with talent, and to me, the fact that Colorado can come out with a 10-8 record shows that even though it's not the best record, it is definitely a testament to how well they can do and how well they can hang with these better teams. So I'm interested to see how this goes. If I got to put a team on upset alert, I don't know. And you can't really judge this 8-9 seed as an upset.
8-9 seed every year. You can't say upset or not upset.
No.
You could switch the seeds and be all right.
No, and that's what I mean is this 8-9 seed is not the upset I'm talking about. I'm talking about Florida has got to be careful. Now, again, I give Florida the distinct edge because they're a dominant team. No overall number one seed. Without question, they've proved that they are the best team in the country right now as far as college basketball goes. But if Colorado gets past Pittsburgh, look for them to make a little noise against the Gators.
Can I just say how awesome a player Patrick Young is?
He
Seriously.
is. He is.
And have you ever seen how big he is?
He's huge. He's huge.
You know who he reminds me of is Dwight Howard in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think if Patrick Young can become more aggressive down underneath, I'm not saying he's not, but if he can become that NBA type player aggressive, he could be really, really good, and that's what I think will give Florida the edge over maybe Colorado in a matchup like that.
Right.
Because Florida, I think, is bigger underneath than Colorado, and when you're underneath like that, those bigger players wins the battle on the glass, and when you win the battle on the glass, you win the game.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the glass because this is going to be a battle of two teams that are rebounding powerhouses. I mean, Colorado is ranked 50th in the nation right now for rebounding with 37.5 per game. And then you've got Florida over here who, they're no slouches themselves on the glass. Florida today, for instance, against Kentucky had a great showing on the boards. That's the whole reason they won, is because they rebounded so well. But Florida, I mean, even though they're ranked much lower than Colorado in rebounds per game, they're right there with 35.6 rebounds per game. So I really think that if it comes down to it, if Colorado, again, this is speaking way into the future because as that one quote said, you got to throw all seedings out the door here.
Right.
But if Colorado gets past Pittsburgh and Florida, we're going to assume is going to make it to the second round, that game is really going to come down to who can rebound the ball better. That's what it's going to come down to. But again, I don't put them on urgent upset alert. I really don't think it's anything too much for Florida to be concerned about. But be ready in that second round if Colorado makes it through.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely.
All right, let's move down to the next game of VCU and Stephen F. Austin. And while we were watching this this selection show, I heard you say you think VCU isn't as good as what they seeded them at.
No, I don't think that VCU is as good as they seed them.
Go ahead. I beg to differ a little bit, all right?
All right, go ahead.
In the Atlantic 10, of course, you have George Washington, St. Joseph's, Massachusetts, and Dayton that all made it. And you also have St. Louis, who kind of fell off there towards the end. But they're still very good. Bear in mind here, VCU did beat Virginia at Virginia.
Right.
I know that was earlier in the year. They also have a win versus St. Louis. And those are their two key wins this year. They have some losses against Massachusetts tournament team, St. Louis tournament team, St. Joe's tournament team, and Northern Iowa, not a tournament team, but that was earlier in the year. We tend to not excuse losses earlier in the year, but we tend to overlook them a lot of times.
Right.
But I think Virginia Commonwealth can do very well against Stephen F. Austin, who is 31-2, 18-0 in their conference.
Right.
That being said, Stephen F. Austin, to go 18-0 in your conference, I don't care who you are, what conference you're playing in, it's tough to do.
Oh, yeah. Because night in, night out, you're playing against teams that prepare specifically to play you.
Each and every year.
They have
tape on you, constant tape on you. So, I mean, to go 18-0 in your conference, 31-2 overall, is impressive. They played one really well-known team. They played Texas, lost by 10. But other than that, they didn't really play any well-known teams. But I still think the 18-0 is impressive. VCU should be concerned, but not overly concerned.
It's one of those deals where I'm gonna put VCU on upset alert in this game, and here's why. Is Stephen F. Austin is one of the highest scoring offenses in the game right now. They're ranked 45th in the nation with 76.5 points per game. On the same token, they're ranked 26th in points allowed on defense with 62.6. They're not just an offensive machine. They're also playing solid defense. Now, nothing taken away from VCU because they're the same kind of machine here. They've got 75.4 points per game for 64th in the nation for scoring. And they're only allowing 64.9 points per game. That's 51st in the nation for their opponents. So again, I think this is going to be a close game, but I'm putting VCU on upset alert. I think Stephen F. Austin has what it takes to take these guys down.
Do you look for Stephen F. Austin to win?
This game?
Are you just putting them on upset alert?
I'm putting them on upset alert right now. I really don't know so much about the Stephen F. Austin team to say that they're going to win for sure. But I know enough about them to say that if anybody's going to have a big upset this first round, it's going to be Stephen F. Austin.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next game here. UCLA and Tulsa. And I did say I looked for UCLA to be a 4 to 6 seed. They did pick up that 4 seed, beating Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament championship. I do like UCLA being placed here.
Yeah.
I think they're not ranked right now, which I think is absurd in my opinion. But UCLA is a very, very, very tough team. They rank 12th in the nation in points scored, 5th in the nation in spreading the ball around with assists, and 10th in the nation in field goal percentage. Their defense isn't as good, but when you can score in college basketball, you force the other team to score as well.
Yeah.
So when you force the other team to score, you force them to make mistakes, and that's what you're banking on. And to me, that's more important than if you can't score yourself.
Right.
Because if you can't score yourself, you're hurting yourself.
Right. Okay.
So, like I said, I look for UCLA to do really well here. I don't look to see any upsets with Tulsa. I don't know about you.
No, I'm the same way with you. Even looking down at the stats here, it is putting UCLA as a heavy favorite if you look at the statistical columns. On offense, Tulsa does. They have one stat ranked in the top 100. That's rebounds per game at 97th. On defense, they have two stats in the top 100: rebounds per game and steals per game. But UCLA, they've got 3 of their 4 offensive statistics in the top 100. Points per game, they're 12th. Assists per game, they're 5th. And field goal percentage, they're 10th. And then on defense, they've got steals per game 4th. And then rebounds per game 60th. So, just looking down at this game, the Pac-12 champions UCLA Bruins are going to just run away with this one, I feel like this is no way this is going to be an upset alert.
Yeah, because looking at Tulsa's schedule, they played some big teams like Wichita State, Creighton. They got blown out by those teams. They lost to Maryland. I don't see Tulsa winning any part of this game. No, it's especially with I want to point out a key player here because I think he's really fun to watch, and that's Kyle Anderson for UCLA.
Yeah, oh yeah,
he's averaging 14.9 points a game, 8.8 rebounds per game, and this kid's only a sophomore. I don't know if he's going to enter the NBA draft. He may stay another year, but I wrote my article earlier this year. He is an amazing decision maker.
Oh yeah,
he doesn't turn the ball over very much. But other than that, the kid knows how to play basketball.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Anderson, just a complete monster for UCLA. I don't much on this game because, like I said, I really think that UCLA is going to run away with this one. Just my opinion.
Good idea.
All right, next game.
Ohio State and Dayton.
Wow, how do I feel about this game? This is going to be a good one because the Dayton Flyers have wanted to play against Ohio State for some time now. They really wanted this matchup, the two teams being so close to each other. And every year they get the shaft. They don't get a chance to play Ohio State. Well, now there's no running away from it for the Buckeyes. They have to play the Dayton Flyers. And honestly, I think this is a dangerous game for the Buckeyes.
I'm going to speak up right here. And you heard me say it right as the game was brought out.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio State is ranked too high.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, they're not a 6 seed. They're not. They're not a 6 seed. They're not that good. They only went 10-8 in the Big Ten. 8 of their 9 losses came in the Big Ten.
Right.
Which, to me, I think they're too high of a seed, and I'm calling it right now. Dayton's going to beat them.
Yeah, I call an upset too. And I don't want to bring this up too much because as somebody that played basketball, I know that anything can happen to any person at any one time. But what happened to Aaron Kraft in the Big Ten tournament was a shame. It really stinks as a former player to watch that happen to somebody, especially on the national level. But that to me also shows the star power or lack thereof from Ohio State. They really don't have anybody that they can put the load on their shoulders to win a game. And I think against a team like Dayton, who's scrappy, aggressive, they play run and gun basketball. That's the kind of player they need. And if they don't have it, then they're going to lose. So I'm right there with you. I'm putting Ohio State on high upset alert. Very high upset alert.
It's not even upset alert for me.
I know it's not
for
real.
me. Dayton is going to win this game.
When you look at numbers, though, you have to term it upset alert. That's what I'm going to put it as. But I'm with you on the same page that Dayton is the better team in this matchup.
Yep.
So, all right, next game.
Next game we have Syracuse, Western Michigan.
All right. Again, Syracuse. I mean, even though they've not been the power they started out this year. This is not a contest for me. I think Syracuse moves on to the next round, and I'm just going to leave it at that for this one.
Fair enough. I'll say the same thing. I think Syracuse is not. Don't sleep on Western Michigan. Now.
Right, don't sleep on them. I mean, they could make a game of it, but
I think Syracuse would be just fine with C.J. Fair and Tyler Ennis and Jim Boeheim there. So.
I honestly actually think, and again, let's just move on after this remark, but I actually think that Jim Boeheim is going to spark some new life into his team come NCAA tournament time. I can see Syracuse maybe getting a little hungry here.
I've watched some of his press conferences in the last couple of losses. He's hurting a little bit.
Yep, and the fact they're given a 3 seed, I think, is going to fuel them to better performance. But anyway, next game.
New Mexico and Stanford.
This is an interesting one. New Mexico, as you know, defeated who did they beat? San Diego State. Thank you. Beat San Diego State to win the Mountain West, and again, just one of those teams that I really don't know a whole lot about. New Mexico. I haven't really gotten a chance to watch them living on the East Coast.
Yeah, I don't watch them too much either. All I know is they went 27-6 and 15-3 in the Mountain West Conference.
Yeah.
Which is one game worse than San Diego State. They have a loss to Boise State. They have losses to San Diego State, UNLV, which might I add is a decent team.
You're right.
And Kansas and Massachusetts tournament teams. So, like I said, I haven't really got a chance to watch them play. Looking at the numbers, they're pretty mediocre in their offense, and their defense is probably pretty mediocre as well, giving up 66 points a game. They're scoring 74 points a game. Stanford, they only went 10-8 in the Pac-12. Pac-12 was a very tough conference this year.
There was.
A lot of teams made it into the NCAA tournament from the Pac-12. They're pretty mediocre in their offense, scoring 73 points per game, but they're giving up 68 points per game, which is 136 in the nation.
See, I want to go back to the New Mexico Lobos here for a second. Their stats now, their steals per game on defense are pretty bad, but I do have to say that while I don't argue that they're not one of the top teams in the nation, I don't think mediocre is the word for them. I think good would probably be a better word, because aside from steals per game, all of their other major statistical categories are ranked in the top 100. And when you're talking about a field of 64 or 68 at this point right now, the fact that they can be ranked in the top 100 for a lot of these offensive statistical categories tells me that New Mexico could be dangerous next round.
You're right. Just remember what conference they do play in. I mean, they're playing the Mountain West the majority of their games. But you're right. If you're going to be ranked in the top 100, you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this is we're on our last game here for the South region.
Yep, Kansas and Eastern Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't want to. Again, I don't want to dwell on this one too much. I really think Kansas is going to just roll past this game.
I wouldn't say roll past. I give it maybe 10 points, 10 to 12 points. I don't say seeing roll past. Kansas intrigues me so much. I don't know what to think of Kansas. People are saying, yeah, they're that fourth 1 seed. Other people are saying, no, they're maybe like a 3 seed. I don't know what I want to do with Kansas here. I know they're going to win this game, but if they were to face somebody like New Mexico in the next round, I don't know what I would do there, because I feel like New Mexico matches up well with Kansas.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean about Kansas. They're one of those teams that right now, as a 2 seed, they're kind of an iffy 2 seed because they do have that ability to lose. And with Embiid being out right now, that's a huge loss for Kansas. And until he comes back, I really think there's a big hole in that team right now, and it's hard to fill. I mean, not even Wiggins can fill that gap that Embiid leaves.
Wiggins is a great player.
Wiggins is a great player.
He's
he really is.
watch.
But I'm looking down at these stats here, and again, you don't want to compare too much of the regular season to the postseason, because everybody just kind of starts over in the postseason.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm looking down at the stats here. Kansas, as far as points per game, they're pretty even with Eastern Kentucky. Kansas ranked 22nd with 79.6, and Eastern Kentucky trailing at 28th with 79 points per game. Where I think it's going to be the difference here, and again, this will kind of play a factor into where the loss of Embiid affects Kansas, is going to be the battle on the boards, because Kansas is 37th in the nation right now with rebounds per game with 38.1, whereas Eastern Kentucky is 350th in the nation with 26.2. So I really, really think that if Kansas is going to roll past Eastern Kentucky, it's going to be if they can control the boards.
I agree with you.
All right. Hey, we're going to take a break here for a little bit, post this up on YouTube. Again, you can check out all of our social media. Just go to any of the major social media networks and type in the Sports Corner. You'll probably find us there. You can follow us, like us, whatever it is. We're going to post this on our YouTube channel. Again, just type the Sports Corner in on the search bar, and you'll find us here with our podcast, our official Sports Corner podcast. When we come back, we're going to be breaking down the West region. So stick around and keep updating this YouTube page to find the next podcast for the Sports Corner. For Kyle Harstead, I'm Chris Fravel. Thanking you for listening again.